and welcome to the Northeast Scene Podcast. This is Keith.
And Tommy.
How's everybody doing? All right. We've got a special guest today, frontman of legendary bands A Life Once Lost and current all-stars Mind Power, and Bucks County legend, Mr. Bob Meadows.
How's it going?
Bobby!
How's it going, guys?
What's up?
How's it going?
Bob?
Good. How's everyone?
I'm okay. You know, I think the last time I saw you in person was maybe at a Life Once Lost gig in New York City in like 2012.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Good. Where were we playing it? Was it Vitus or was it somewhere else?
It was somewhere in Manhattan. I don't remember where exactly. Maybe like Knitting Factory I can't remember. I had just moved to New York City and I had like no money. So and I lived way up in Westchester because I was staying with my sister.
Yeah.
So like I would go to work and then I would like show up to shows like in my work, like my suit and shit. And I would like pack a lunch to bring with me because I didn't have any money like to eat anywhere because I was saving up to get an apartment in New York City, which is fucking awful and costs a lot. So
I'm not envious of you for that.
No, man, you don't want to be involved with that.
The cost of living there is just insane, man. I can't fathom how you do it. And you've done it as long as you have, you know?
You can walk down the street and just like spend $70-$80 without even thinking of it. Like you're like, oh, I need some body wash, I need some this, some that, and then you realize you spent like $120 and you're like, why am I here? Why am I doing this?
I have a student right now, and I remember I've had a couple of the siblings, but like it was parent-teacher conferences. The first time I had this parent come in, and it was like parent-teacher conferences for us are like an all-day thing. So we have a half day of school, and then it's like 12:30 till like 3 o'clock, and then they give us off from like 3 to 4:30, and then the nighttime one is like 4 to 7:30. So parents at work and have like later jobs can come in at night. It was like 7:29, and I'm like packing. I literally like have my backpack on. I'm about to walk out the door, and this dad walks in, and I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And he's like, "Hey, my son's name is so and so. I'm really sorry. I have a long commute." And I was like, "Oh, like let's chat while we walk out to my car. We'll just chat about your son on your way out." And he's like, "Oh, that's fine with me." He's like, "I actually already met with his reading teacher. We're good to go. My commute is terrible." I said, "Where do you commute from?" And he's like, "The Bronx." And I'm like, "To Trenton?" And he's like, "Well, you know, I used to live in the Bronx for a long time, and he got a job he works for the New York Public Housing Authority, and he's essentially he's a super of one of the the high-rise buildings that's in the Bronx." And he was like, "You know, my options were I moved down here because most of my family's down here." He's like, "I moved down here," and he's like, "Because my options were either find another job and give up my pension, my healthcare." He's like, "It's amazing." He's like, "My healthcare is amazing. All the benefits are amazing. Like, I have a pension through them." He's like, "I was going to lose all of that." He's like, "So I figured I'd just suck it up for the next 15 years and just do this." And I'm like, holy
sacrifice.
Shit, dude. But he literally, I was like, "What time do you get up in the morning?" He gets up at 3:15. 3:15 to commute to the Bronx every day.
Ew.
I was like,
that's
dude,
impossible.
yeah.
How would just commuting from like Westchester down to Manhattan was a nightmare. But I guess, you know, some people can do it.
Yeah.
So Bob, what's going on with you? Like, how are you faring in the age of Corona?
I'm doing all right. You know, I got laid off March 11th before the shutdown began.
And, what do you do? I'm not even sure.
I'm a union laborer right now.
Okay.
I work with a drilling company. We drill caissons for buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of it's a nice risky job. You know, keeps you on your toes when you're working. You know, I think the first day that I was there, first time I was ever around a machine like that, and the hole is an 8-foot diameter, and we're already at depths of about like 90 feet into the earth. It's called like, I think the rock was registered at like a 40-ton rock. So that means like in a hydraulic press, that rock will not break until there's 40 tons of pressure on it, kind of shit.
Mm-hmm. So,
you know, you got drill bits going in and out, like auger bits kind of, but just with a machine. And it was wild. so they have a core barrel. They put the core barrel in that just kind of cuts the hole, but you have to literally pick it up with the machine, put it in the hole, walk out over top of this 90-foot drop, harnessed in, put the pin in, and then walk right back out. And that's so I'm sitting up there and I'm having a cigarette up on top of the hill, and then my foreman's like, he's like, yo, he's bringing that out. You better go down there and get that. And I'm like, shit, like I just started here, run down there.
Yeah.
And I literally ran out on top of this core barrel, not strapped in, not realizing it until after I took it out. And I look back and I'm like, holy shit, I'm not even fucking tied off. And the operator's like, yeah, I know. Get the fuck off the machine, dude. And I was like, oh my God. I just ran right off of there. And right then and there, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is fucking sketchy. But the work pays well. My benefits are really good. My health insurance is amazing. My pension's going to be really good. Yeah. And that's what I do right now. Touring isn't for me anymore. Being in a band like that isn't really for me anymore. I just...
You will not be touring anymore in any band?
I can't say that, but at the moment I can say that. You know what I mean? It's just the current feeling and the status of where life is right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And touring is the least of my concerns, to be honest, with just everything that's going on. There might not even be any more live shows anymore.
Yeah, it's everything I'm seeing. It's looking like 2020 is pretty much done for live shows. But I hear you on the touring thing. Like, I traveled a ton for my current job, and I fucking hate it. I hate it. Like, even though I travel by myself and, I get a nice coach seat in the plane and they pay for a hotel, it sucks. I don't like it. I don't like being away. I don't like being out of my routine. And I like to imagine that I would enjoy it more if I was like touring with a band, but probably
with your
not
friends.
because you're with your friends and you're doing something you enjoy. But I've done it. You've done it. You're cramped in a van. You don't know if you have somewhere to stay. You don't have any money. It's not the most glamorous lifestyle.
No, it never was, but I never did it for like the fame and the fortune. Right. I think that I was very fortunate to join my first band to take it to where it went. Yes. I was very, 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 very fortunate to do that. Yeah. Not many people can actually say that about anything, but for me, it wasn't like what pulled me in was the first show I went to that was like a hardcore show. I believe it was Orange 9mm at the church with Handsome and Christ, and it just it leveled me. Just seeing and feeling the energy in that room at the First Unitarian Church, and that's the first time I ever stepped in there, and that was in 1996 or 1997. Mm-hmm. I stepped in there. That was my first glimmer of that. I went there with a friend of mine, Max Brand, who went to Ben Salem, and ended up doing that. Going to another show, and then I just wanted it. You know what I mean? Then I got into hardcore. Then I got into booking. And then after that, it was just the dean came up to me at an Ink and Dagger show at Stalag, asked me if I wanted to sing or something like that, and I was like, maybe, I don't know. I'm going to be at the show anyway. It sounds like fun. Yeah, let me try it. Yeah. And then I think we practiced. Actually, I don't think we practiced at Doug's house. I think we practiced at Mike McGonigal's house in his basement. That was the first time I ever sang with those dudes. Maybe was it there or was it? I forget where it was, but it was just it was surreal, man. I never felt anything like that. It's better than it's one of the most amazing feelings to be able to stand on a stage like that.
Oh, absolutely. And for context, folks, we're talking about A Life Once Lost and the beginning stages. So Vadim approaches you and he's like, hey, you want to sing for this band? So were you all about that idea, or did you not care, or were you
I mean, the whole idea was I was going to be at the show regardless. You know, like and I liked the idea and I always wanted to sing in a band. Yeah. Why not give it a try? I was never much of a no guy at that age. You know what I mean? So yeah, let me try it. Let me see what it's like. And again, like I forget whose basement I showed up to, but we ran through some songs real fast. I don't think you can even really hear me. And I think at the first show, I didn't even really sing into the microphone besides like, jumping around like a monkey and slamming the microphone into the floor and smashing it into like 1,000 pieces. It was intense for the most part. You know what I mean? Like I lost it. I freaked out when I was up there. I didn't know what else to do, but that was just my natural reaction was to be that. It almost took me like 2 years just to be able to turn around and actually look people in the face. And then once I did that, that's when I started having fun. That was
yeah.
I remember that. I remember that show really well, just because we played that show.
You guys played it. This Day Forward played it. Fire Down Below played it. I feel like there was a few other bands on it. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just it was an overall good show. There was a lot of like awesome people, and a lot of our friends were there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So do you remember that first practice when you were like trying out, so to speak? Was it like really scary? Because I've been in that situation where, yeah, and especially vocally, because like it's nerve-wracking in general. I've tried out for a couple bands, it's gone good, it's gone not good, but like I imagine that it was just a lot of pressure.
It's just weird, man. It was just like I wasn't. I was used to like. I was just getting into the promoting aspect of doing the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I knew that. I was starting to make a lot of different friends, just from going to shows and stuff. And nothing really ever prepared me for just, like, holding that microphone and hearing them play, like, Jones Said Please or A Summer Sky, Winter Air or whatever the songs were, It was just, I was big into writing, like, poetry. I was big into writing. I was always good at it. It was a great way for me to express myself, and especially growing up as like a jock, straight edge kid. I had a way to like kind of be sensitive and soft and stuff, I guess. Right?
Yeah, dude, that's how I remember meeting you, Bobby. Was I forget where Audience of One was playing, but you came up to us, and I'm pretty sure you were wearing
Southampton YMCA.
Yes, Southampton. You said that exactly what it was. And you came up and you were like, dude, I absolutely want to do this. Like, I'm booking bands. This is amazing. Like, you guys sound great. And at that point in time, like, that iteration of Audience of One was like fucking grindcore. It was like, it was fucking like noise.
Stuff,
And, but I remember being like, who is this kid? You had glasses. You had like a really tight baseball hat on, and you had some type of shirt on that had wrestling on it. Like,
remember the narcotics officer hat?
Yes.
Oh shit! I forgot about that. Damn.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So, what I wouldn't pay to be straight edge again,
Well, I'm straight edge now, and I got to tell you, it makes shit a lot easier. Let me back up. I'm technically straight edge now. I still smoke cigarettes occasionally, and I had to quit joining again because that got out of hand. So.
How does that get out of hand, though? I don't understand. Like,
because I'm fucking insane. I get
all right.
You do
so into it.
You're an addictive personality.
Yes, it starts out innocently, like anything else, obviously. And then I wake up and I'm hitting it right away. I go to sleep and I hit it until I get dizzy because I have to feel something. And there's a trick I learned where if you take the cartridge out and put it back in, it hits like a brand new cartridge every time. So literally every single hit, I'm pulling the cartridge out and putting it back in and hitting it until I get dizzy. I'm insane.
That's fucking wild, dude. In my head, I'm going like Meadows and I talk at nights once in a while, and like the thing is I've explained this to him before. Is like I've stopped smoking during the day. Like, I don't smoke at all.
Oh, you were chiefing that one night. You were chiefing cigarettes, like fucking bang, 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 bang.
I think
I'm like
in a row. It was like a fucking it was like the 40s. Like I was just fucking like pounding cigarettes. I think I had 5 or 6 in a row because Meadows and I were just sitting there FaceTiming, so we're just fucking talking shit. And he's out in his shed, and I'm standing there out in my garage, and like, I'm just going off. And he's like, "So do you just chain smoke at night?" I'm like, "Well, tonight I do. I don't know. Usually, fucking most of the time I come out and have one, and then listen to some music while I'm out here, and maybe have 2, and then go to bed." Like,
while I'm in the shed drinking a beer and like smoking a joint or something.
There's certain situations like when we're at This Is Hardcore or like a show, and it's like kind of the old gang. I want to like enhance it a bit, but I'm at the point now where I just realized that cigarettes or juuling aren't going to add anything. and I'm
No,
just
no.
gonna have to like stop it again if I get started. So I can just kind of be like, no, it's not worth it. Let's circle back. Now, I remember hearing a rumor a long time ago. Mike Shaw was like, he was explaining how he got started vocally with This Day Forward and how it took him a long time to like get his voice right and get it straight. And he said that you got it within like the first practice, or pretty quick. Like within a couple hours, you had it down and you could like do the scream. Is that true?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, it took me
Yeah.
a while to like with adrenaline going. It's different.
Mhm.
It's just like a kid that raps along to a KRS-One or something where he just keeps
Yeah.
up with it. What I was doing is I was singing along to like Sean Ingram, like Jacob Bannon, like
Yeah.
Jamie Josta, fucking Mike Oleander from Endeavor, and like
Mhm.
and the bro from For the Love of, I forget the original singer's name, but
Yeah.
I mean Tim Singer, like That Guy Kiss Goodbye. Like I had these CDs, and what I would do is I would I would be in my room, in my
Mhm.
house, blasting this like full volume, screaming my face off
Yeah.
at the stereo, like, and lost my voice, and then bang. Now I could keep up. Now I had like the chops. So when I stepped in and I could hold a microphone, now it got weird because now it's amplified. I
Yeah.
never liked hearing myself in
Yeah.
monitors. I always liked hearing myself in the main because I felt like that was what people came to hear. When
Mhm.
I hear myself in a monitor mixes were always shit anyway at clubs. They
Mhm.
were never fucking good. But yeah, it was easy. I mean, I lost my voice a lot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then again, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm screaming from my throat and not from my diaphragm. Once
Right.
I
So you
learned,
actually put some prep work into it. You didn't just get out there and you're like, all right, I'm going to figure this out. It sounds like you did some practicing on your own.
well, it was a goal of mine.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm a high school wrestler. You know what I mean? I'm a solid, good wrestler, and I had a coach named Jack Dunn. And what he
Mhm.
did at the beginning of the season is he implemented goals. He said, write down what you want to achieve this year. So you're like, I want to win this tournament. I want to make 2 takedowns and pin somebody. And so you
Yeah.
make up all these like stupid like goals in wrestling. And you achieve some, you don't achieve some, but it would just make you work harder. So
Mhm.
I implemented that philosophy with me being in a band, and I wasn't even in a band yet. All right. So I
Gotcha.
wrote down, I want to play Ozzfest. I want to be in a magazine. I want to be on MTV. I want to go
Wow.
to Europe. I want to tour this country, and I want to put out, I want to put out a couple records. And I literally
Yeah.
wrote this. I wish I had the piece of paper, but I wrote it down and I put it, where I could see it every day. And I looked at it every day. And then when Vadim came along, and I just didn't really pay mind to it. I just thought it was like all like aloof, like this is gonna blow over. This is nothing. After that first show, like Vadim said and TJ said, like I was the guy like pushing, like, okay, yo, I got us a show here. I got us a show here. Yo, listen, you're not going to school Friday because we're driving out to Chicago and we're playing a show in a house that's being evicted. We're doing this. Are we getting paid? Who cares? I have money to put in the gas tank. Let's go. Come on.
Right.
Because
Right.
I'm already a union laborer at this point. You know what I
Ah.
mean? So I'm making good money as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid,
Yeah.
being my first band. And I basically put us on pace. I'm booking shows at Polanka Park. I'm booking shows at the Fallsington Eagles Lodge or whatever that was. Every venue, Yardley Fire Hall, all these venues I found, and I just went around and I just hustled. I hustled, talked to promoters, I talked to agents. That's how Life on Sloss got to where it was. It's because I fucking hustled in the beginning, and I put us on the fucking map very early on. Our first
Right.
U.S. tour, I booked. Our second U.S. tour, I booked, and I booked it with Between the Buried and Me and the Ends. Like I worked my ass off to make that band what it was. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of bumps in the road, and there was a lot of like people that got hurt along the way, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
think that's one of the,
It really fucking sucks that I put people in a position that I did. But at the
I
end of the
think
day, there was a lot more good than there was bad in that band.
I 100% agree with that. I think that's one of the things that I thought it was important to have you on, Bob, is because like we've had two people from A Life Once Lost that have left the band under their own choice, and like we wanted to have you on to be like, yo, what's Bobby's side of this? Because like I remember going to your shows and loving it, and like always being around you and Doug was like my favorite thing in the world. Like,
well, Doug was a total clown. You
Doug
know
was
what I
my
mean?
Doug still did one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Was you had a show at Polanka. I don't remember who was playing. Doug was working at Taco Bell, and came on his break or his lunch,
It was like his 15-minute break.
Yes, and
and it's
showed up
15-minute
with a
drive
taco
down there.
Yes, exactly. It's 15 minutes down Street Road. So he shows up with a Taco Bell uniform, literally with a taco in his hand and a soda, and a band is playing. He walks into the middle of the pit and starts fucking doing jumping jacks, throws the soda all over the crowd, and fucking spin kicks a bunch of people and then walks out. And in my head, I'm going like, that's my friend right there. That's the fucking funniest shit I've ever seen.
He was a funny kid. He always was, man.
Yeah.
He's fucking just always make me laugh like hard as shit. And that's what I always thought about is when you guys came up to you guys played do you remember this? You came up to Wilkes-Barre to play Cafe Metro?
Yeah.
And
which time?
I don't remember. There was so many, like I think
Tommy, we played Cafe Metro so many times that I met this kid that said his older brother showed his oldest brother showed his older brother, and his older brother showed him A Life Once Lost. And they all saw it.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Generational.
That's a generational band, dude.
That's this is how wild this place was. The thing about Cafe Metro, literally, they served like nothing. There was like, I don't know what they fucking call it, a cafe. There was literally nothing there to eat or to drink.
I think it was just a fake so they could do shows in the back.
Yes, exactly. But it was really funny. It was next to this place. I remember people saying when I first got to college, people were like, "You got to go to Cafe Metro." I was like, "All right, cool."
Now, do you ever think about how crazy it is that just Vadim approaches you to sing for this band, and it takes you on this wild journey? All those things that you wrote down on that piece of paper happened.
Yeah,
because I had TJ on the show, and the same thing with him. Vadim must be like an angel or something. He approaches people to be in these bands, and they take him on this wild journey in life. Like I mentioned to him, the only thing anyone's ever approached me to say is, could you please go away, or could you please quiet down, or could you please leave the establishment?
Vadim had the same attitude that I had in the beginning, and I didn't necessarily like all the music that he liked, and I didn't necessarily like all the music he wrote, but he was always a really, really good friend of mine. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he took me to that place that took me all over the world. I can't thank that kid enough. And we had a little bit of a weird falling out, but it was nice that we were able to reconnect on a nice level. You know what I mean? And play a little bit of a catch up kind of a game. I enjoy that. Same thing with TJ.
I had the same experience with Vadim. Not that we didn't technically have a falling out, but I was just kind of like a little nasty to him for no reason in particular. So I was glad I got to have that conversation with him on this show. But you mentioned TJ too. Did you guys ever reconnect?
Yeah, we did. I listened to the podcast and I hit him up afterwards. But even before that, there was a lot of apologies that I forwarded his way. And I've yet to see him. And when I do see him, I owe him a lot. That kid also took me all over the place. I remember the first tour that A Life Once Lost ever did that I forced all these kids to going into. And I'm fucking 19 years old or 20. Doug and Vadim are 16. I think Rich is 15 and TJ's 14. So now I have to go to everyone's parents' houses to talk to them about what I'm doing. So I go to Doug's house. Okay, so if you know Doug's dad and mom was always very timid, but Doug's dad was always like Doug and like Mike.
Yeah.
And so just me like talking about it, and he stood up with the biggest smile on his face, and he gave me the biggest handshake, and he's like, "Take care of my boy." And I'm like, "Cool, yeah, all right, that was easy." And then I go and I meet up with Mrs. Tabor, and then I talk to her. And that was easy. And then I go talk to Rich's dad. That was That was way too easy, dude. Rich's
dad is the fucking chillest dude.
Dude, he is amazing. We always had a legend that, I'm not even going to talk about it. Anyway, I talked to Rich's mom as well. And then it was TJ's mom. Okay. So I'm talking to her. And here's this kid, 14 years old. And here I am, 19, 20, straight edge, and I'm like, I'll take care of him. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'm like, just trust me. Like nothing's going to happen to him. I'll make sure that he eats every day. I'll make sure that he's making the right choices and stuff like that. And she's like, all right, cool. I'm like, why don't you come out and you can like see us play? So that way you're like a little bit more comfortable. And she's like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, I'll come out. And she comes out to a show at Polanka Park. Okay, so here I am playing, and I have guys from some place I worked right before I got into the union, right before, we were able to start doing this, from Mealy's Furniture that came out to see me play.
Oh,
and here I turn around and I take this microphone and I repeatedly smash it onto my forehead until I'm just gushing blood everywhere, all over my face. It's all over me. It's all over people in the front now. And I just like, when I take my glasses off, I can't see, but I was close enough to her that I saw her face and she looked horrified that she accepted this thing. This is the guy that's going to take care of my baby boy. There's no way I'm letting this guy. There's no way TJ's going on this tour. There's no way. But man, it was that was fun. It was kind of wild. The tour went off with a huge success too. We went out with the end. And it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of wild times. A lot of shows got canceled. But we made the best of it. That's all we could do. We were all straight edge kids. The guys in the end all smoked weed and drank beer and shit, but that wasn't any of our interest at that point yet.
I remember them making fun of my cigarettes. I had cigarettes with me and they were like, what are these? And I was like, oh, Camel Lights. And they like looked at them. They were like, dude, this like doesn't even have any nicotine in it. Like this has like, what's the fucking tar level on it?
Yeah,
Like, what the fuck do you idiots smoke? Like, I'm like, hey, who fucking like we smoke these things. And they had this fucking, I don't remember who smoked
side slide. It's a side slide. It's like,
who smoked the band? Was it Anthony or
I don't know.
One of them smoked. And I remember he gave me a cigarette and I was like, I thought I was gonna die. I was like, dude, this is not cool.
They're like Reds.
Yeah, they're like Reds, except they for some reason they felt like they smoked longer. Like how like American spirits feel like they smoke forever.
Yeah.
Like that type of smoke, but like Reds. It was so fucking brutal. I was just like, oh my god, I can't fucking deal with these kids. Like they're fucking out of control.
Now, when Life Once Lost first got started, I remember you guys making a big splash right away. Because Bob, I kind of knew you from booking shows. I think you were just getting started with that. And I didn't know anybody else in the band, but I met all of you guys the first time I saw you, which was at the now famous Doug Stock, which got shut down early for reasons I don't understand. I just remember Doug running through and being like, it's over, everyone leave. So,
no, I think it was a neighbor complaint or something like that, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you guys made a big splash right away because, like I mentioned in a few other episodes, This Day Forward was my favorite frame of reference, and I had mostly seen like pretty traditional hardcore bands, but you guys, you amped up the intensity and they were more technical, and it was just, right from the start, it was a big deal. Yeah,
we didn't want to sound like This Day Forward or like the Boz Hennas or the Sound of Failures, Audience of Ones, Blue Sky Fade, or Trading Places. We wanted to approach it differently, and I know the big influence then was like bands like For the Love Of. You heard a lot of that in there. You heard a lot of that band Barrett. The one guitar player went on to be in Bane. We had a weird influence. We actually, even with like the demo and Open Your Mouth for the Speechless, we didn't really fall into our own sound until maybe about like even like the fourth play. We didn't really have a sound. We were still trying to discover it. We didn't really hit our sound until A Great Artist. We morphed multiple times. We put out Open Your Mouth for the Speechless. It sounds like I'm saying wah wah the whole time. Falls Over Farewell and Just Before His Crucifixion were the two bangers off that. I remember Vadim not wanting to play songs just because he wasn't into that mentality. Like he said, like we started to become like more aggressive in our music. Vadim never liked that aggressive approach that we took.
That was like, there was times where, so the opening of, if you're not familiar with it, go listen to Just Before Your Crucifixion. There's a really subtle guitar part that starts, and then it goes into this breakdown. I remember when, as soon as those notes started being played, and it's definitely not something you want to mosh to, people would start murdering each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's clobbering time. Like, as soon as
pretty
you
much.
fucking heard that, like, it was like, just beat the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
Do you remember there was a show you guys played at Polanka Park, and it may have been Joan Said Please. It was something off of Open Your Mouth for the Speechless. And you're like, this is the last fucking time we're ever playing this song. And you started playing it, and the place exploded, and this kid jumped up and grabbed onto the
Chandelier, and he ripped it down.
Yeah, and he cut his hand open, and the chandelier is swinging. Like,
Brian Marconi goes over and he holds it up.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember being on a chair holding it up too, while someone like jury rigged it with a wire hanger.
And what's funny is that we didn't stop playing.
No.
So, for frame of reference, if anybody so if you're listening to this and you don't know what Polanka Park is, it's like a Ukrainian
Polish Army Veterans Hall. Yeah, Polish Army Veterans Hall.
Yeah, so think like VFW Hall, but like much.
Big.
It's big. Like, I mean, Bobby, how many people do you think you could fit in there? 1,000 if you really wanted to?
I had 1,500 in there in Spring Fling.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you think did anyone ever alert the venue that the chandelier thing happened, or do you think it's still being held up by a hanger?
No, actually, I went there recently. They made the stage bigger, and they took all the sconces and they raised them up, and now all the chandeliers are like right in the ceiling now. It's like a perfect venue, but it's really hard. It's really hard to get in touch with anyone there. Yeah, because I've been trying for like the last 2 years. I had a meeting set up. I went there. No one showed up. And I was just like, okay, cool. Call the guy. Didn't answer. Call the guy. He answers. Can I get another meeting with you? Yeah. Come by this day. Okay. Come by. Does not there. So it's just been like kind of,
I thought that dude lived out the parking lot.
No, Stanley died. Stanley was the guy that I dealt with. He passed away years ago, like almost a decade ago.
Damn.
Maybe not a decade ago. Maybe 6-7 years ago, I guess. Like it's basically his wife and his son run it now.
Okay.
But I don't know if they live out in that weird trailer that was off to the side.
Yeah, that was always like, you would always see him, like, he was like, he was very nice. He was super polite if you engage with him, but like, he definitely always seemed like he was kind of like lurking, like, what are these?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when we get further into the interview, I'll talk about Spring Fling, about how that all took place and how I did that.
Because why don't we talk about that a little? I knew you just from shows and mostly from booking shows. So how did you get started doing that?
I basically started showing interest in that when I started going to shows at like Stalag, the church in high school, and once I started getting like kind of more familiar with the scene with those people, I kind of wanted to do something myself. In Ben Salem, it was hard to find anything. So my first show I ever booked was this band called Starman vs. the Amazon from that wrestling game on Nintendo. They played in my kitchen, and maybe it was some other band that played, but I've had probably a good 5 to 6 shows in my yard or in my house.
I remember just showing up to your house randomly one time. There was like this 2-piece band playing, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah, that was Starman vs. the Amazon."
I was at that, yeah.
I saw Neil Perry in your kitchen.
Neil Perry was in the kitchen. Audience One's played in the kitchen. This Day Forward has played in the kitchen. Pray for Rain has played in the kitchen. Blue Sky Fade played in my backyard. Yeah, I mean, I like doing it. And then there was a church in Ben Salem on Humenville Road called See from His Church, and I went and I did a benefit for Jason and Senna, who died in a boiler explosion or a furnace explosion accident. He was a singer of the band Life Sick Life. So he saved the other 3 dudes, and he died in that fucking furnace. So I did a benefit show for the family, and this is where I met his wife, which is brothers of Mike Malin, who's like a big drone dude now out west. But he had a shirt company out here, a screen printing company called Old School Productions. Anyway, ended up meeting that whole family, and we raised like $1,500. The church basically gave me all their concession money to give to the family.
Oh my god!
You know, it was unreal. Every band that played for free. Days Away played it. I think This Day Forward played it. I believe Audience of One played this with JD playing drums.
Yes.
Fallen Deaf Ears played this.
Was that the one Blue Skies Fade played as well?
Blue Skies Fade played it as well. There was a lot of fucking people there. And my dad and his buddy actually ran the door for me while I was able to like go and make sure everything was like cool in the venue, you know, like.
Oh, was that when you rented all the Viking stuff to do Bloodbath? But we went over time, and the legendary Bloodbath did not get to perform.
Yes. And then the only Bloodbath set I believe we ever played was at the Yardley Fire Hall.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. We would conceive these bands. We did one, and what was it called? Geronimo.
Geronimo was a good one too. Oh wait, was that Geronimo there?
Yeah, no, that was at the Yardley Fire Hall. And
Geronimo was Yardley Fire Hall. Bloodbath was at St. Ephraim's Church.
Keith Goodwin was in it. We covered the Converge breakdown in Saddest Day. The dun, 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 dun.
We had that keyboard that made the weird sounds, the bird sounds.
Yeah,
and stuff.
That was like a huge deal because, like you were mentioning earlier, like I wanted to be in a band so bad. Like
you sang.
I didn't play any instruments at the time, so my goal was to become the singer in a band. And like you mentioned, you were in your room practicing screaming. I would drive around and play records at full volume and like practice screaming because I'm like waiting for my big break, like when I'm finally going to get into band. So when I got to do that, that was like a huge deal for me.
If anybody that doesn't understand, so Bloodbath is one of those things that it was a joke that
the almighty Bloodbath.
What was it?
The almighty Bloodbath.
The almighty Bloodbath. So one of the things I do recall at when this show did happen, either you or JD walked up to me and handed me a 2-liter that was full of red corn syrup and like Sprite or something like that. And you were like, throw this on the crowd when we start playing. I was like, what? And they're like, that's the whole thing is we throw blood at everybody. I was like, all right. And then handed me something. I don't remember what it was, like a Yoda mask or something ridiculous like that. And they're like, you have to wear this too. I was like, we're so going to get fucking kicked out of this place. We're going to get in trouble.
I remember Bob loading in all this stuff. There was like lights and Viking helmets and swords. And you always conceived like these grandiose, like, you know, one show joke bands that we could do.
Or
I had some good ones.
What was the one? There was something that I thought was hilarious one time, and I remember being like, I'm so bummed I wasn't a part of it. I think it was Bob. I think it was you and JD had the idea that like in, I don't know, March or April, you were just like, let's go down the shore, and you guys just packed your shit up and fucking went down the shore. Like,
and we got down there at night. We stole a couch out of the trash and put it on the beach, and we sat on the couch.
Wow.
And we were all too exhausted to drive home, so we were like, let's just try to take a nap. And then it was just the most painful ride home.
That was like the craziest thing you could do when you were like 16, 17, 18. It would be like 9 o'clock at night. We'd be like, let's drive to the beach. We'd be like, yeah. And then you would go and do it.
You get down there, you're like, man, this is awesome. And then you're like, fuck, I got to drive home. Shit.
It's all right. So we're booking shows in Bucks County. Now, that is one of the reasons we wanted to do this podcast, because the amount of crazy good shows that we had in Bucks County is just crazy. Like all the legendary bands that came through between you booking them and Pat booking them and whoever else did them, like it was a real microcosm of, you know, unique bands and shows happening in that time.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was, we were lucky, you know. I mean, like I said, I just had that attitude that I wanted to book, you know, and once I did the St. Ephraim's Church show, then I found Polanka Park, you know, and then I think the first show I ever did there was Saves the Day, Boy Sets Fire, Reach the Sky, Blue Skies Fade, and Trading Places. Wow. And then I think I did another show with like you and I, Try Fail Try, Audience of One, This Day Forward. And they were like my two bangers, like right back to back. Yes. And then you and I at that time was like a big deal because like no one ever really saw anything that technical and emotional, you know, and everyone was just like fucking losing their minds over them. I remember that. I mean, after that, it was just, where can I find a venue to book at? And in Bucks County, I mean, the Levittown Methodist Church or whatever that was, the Pat, a lot of shows out.
Faith Reformed
Church. So I had the first meeting there with them. I booked the first show there with them. I went into all these rooms that never did shit like this before. And I just had a gift of gab where I could make that person feel so fucking comfortable around me and with me and allowing me to do this that the sky was the limit at that point.
Especially when you frame it as like, hey, we're a bunch of straight edge kids coming in to have a good time.
Yeah, and that's what I basically what I was saying. And at the time, I mean, I was still straight edge. Even when I was starting to like, get into like drinking and smoking, that was still always my thing. Was like, I'm not here to promote like, people getting fucked up and drugs and people fucking out in the parking lot. I wouldn't say that, but I'm here to basically like give these kids in this area like something to do. So from there, I always had contact with like the Courier Times for some reason. I was good friends with that Andy McDonald guy or whatever his name was that did the reality section in the newspaper. Andy Ginsberg. Okay, so he did the reality section. So I would, either call him or, email him something, and I would tell him about these shows that I'm doing. So then, he would start actually putting them in newspapers with like my email address or with my phone number on there. But like I had a cell phone. And I just started getting blown up by like all these area bands. Bands from like Doylestown that wanted to come down here, and it was like a vice versa thing. Then me meeting these kids, and all of a sudden we're playing up in like Lansdale, and we're playing in Doylestown, and it was just one of those. I had a good way of making friends. I had a good way of making a lot of connections, and I found a lot of rooms in this area that got fucked up from people going in there and just being stupid in the room, booking stupid shows in that room. Not having the right supervision there, and you have a kid in high school booking a show. And, when I was young, I would always have my dad at the front door, because I know like no one was going to like say, oh, no. My dad would make you pay. Okay. So he was 6'4", 350, you're paying the $8 that it was, but it just, I found rooms. It just made sense to me, and it was just a good thing. I was really lucky. I mean, I hooked up with Siren Records, right when A Life Once Lost was starting to kind of wind down, and I spent a good 3 years there booking shows. Anything from Dillinger Escape Plan and Siren Records, or Circus Survive, or Madball at the Doylestown Moose Lodge. Fuck, I booked Lamb of God twice at the Polanka Park.
Do you remember? Do you remember the first time you booked a show at Siren? And it's when they had the new place that had the stage in the corner.
Yeah.
And did you prepare Blair? Like, did he know what was going to happen? Or was he like, hey, we have to do this? Or like, we want to make sure we move things out of the way? Or was it like, let's see what happens? And
I think he kind of had an idea what to expect, but just not what to expect. You know what I mean? I feel really bad because he gave me a fucking amazing opportunity, and I was still like touring, you know what I mean? So now I got my computer with my USB, and I'm here booking shows still, because what I was doing was I was bringing people into the store. People would come into the store, Siren would take a cut of the door. The rest would usually go to the bands, pay the staff like $20-$30. And then, those kids that are there playing shows end up buying records, and Blair kills it again on record sales. It was really, really good. And just ended up getting a lot of noise complaints on that street. There was a show I did there that was it was like a Death Wish showcase or something like that. And it was like Trash Talk, Cold World, Blacklisted, or maybe they didn't play. I forget all the bands that played, but it was a sold out show. There was probably like 350 people up in that store. And there was some like just real ignorant shit that kids did up there. You know what I mean? Like at the show that they would do at a normal venue, but this is a record store. It's not the same fucking thing. Like, just got to be a little bit more careful. You know what I mean? Be mindful of everybody. Even me putting Dillinger Escape Plan in there, he already knew what to expect at that point.
Oh, Christ.
Did anything happen at that show? Because their shows are like legendarily crazy.
It was fucking wild. It was really, 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 really wild. They had all the lights going, the strobes and stuff like that. It was just, it was fucking crazy, man. It was fucking crazy. Like it was one of those shows that I just like look back on and I'm like, man, like our Philly show got canceled, and I'm like, yo, I can put us up at Siren. And Ben was like, sure, man, let's do it. And I hit up Blair, and I'm like, yeah, we're not doing anything. And I'm like, but they got a bus. And I'm like, I don't even know where we're gonna park this thing. And so we end up parking it down in a shopping center down the road a little bit. So all those dudes are like in the fucking venue. They're all going out to eat, doing their thing. The show happens and shit. We sold it out within like I think 24 hours notice. It was a madhouse, dude. It was a fucking madhouse.
For anybody that's not familiar with Doylestown, it is a very upscale, expensive. How do you like all the art and architecture in that area is like historically preserved.
Yes.
It's like it is very much a.
It's a lot of uptight white people. Is what we're
there.
Getting
you
at.
Go, Keith. Thank you.
Yeah, they have a movie theater there that only has like 1 or 2 screens, and it only shows like super artsy shit. I went to go. So Anthony from Circa Survive lives in Doylestown, and I this was years ago. We went to go to the movies, and I was like, let's go see a movie, and it was this movie with Philip Seymour Hoffman in it. It was called Schenectady, New York. And I remember about halfway through it being like, fuck, what is happening with this movie? Like, I shouldn't have gotten fucked up before I came in. And then I thought for a second, I was like, wait a minute. I didn't get fucked up. This movie's just fucking out of control. It made no sense. It was like all over the place. And I walked out and I was like, dude, did you get that? And he was like, get what? And I'm like, the movie. Did you fucking understand that movie? He's like, oh no, I had no clue it was happening. I was like, what the fuck did we just spend? There was like $15 between the two of us. We could have fucking gotten Indian food. What the fuck, man? Like, but yeah, no, Doylestown's super fancy. So the fact that you guys only got a few noise complaints is like kind of.
No, we got every show that we did, we got a noise complaint. You know, and it just became too much. Go ahead, Keith.
How did the noise complaints at Polanka Park always end up happening? Because that wasn't like next to a house. No.
You're talking about the This Day Forward show?
Yeah. Now listen to this. Some gentleman sent me, Ed Hewitt, one of our listeners. He sent me. I have a DVD of that final This Day Forward and a Life Once Lost show.
Yeah.
I have the full set, so I'm going to be putting that up. So thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed, for that. Now I was watching the video back, and the whole exchange with the police is on the DVD, which is awesome.
I remember it's who he is now, the chief or the head of the fire chief or something like that now. Or
the older cop seemed like a real dick.
Yeah, some bald-headed big guy was trying to take my money, and I kept saying no. And he's like, "Well, do you have a tax ID number?" I'm like, "I don't need one."
Yeah,
like that. He's trying to literally like steal my money from me. I'm like, "What the fuck is going on here?" But this is what I don't understand, is because there was probably a good 600-700 people there at that show. You know, there was a lot of people at that show. I had I had 1,500 people on an all-day festival on a Saturday in the middle of March, or March 1st.
Oh, spring fling, yeah.
And what I did is I went to Stanley and I'm like, listen, I want to double book this. And he's like, okay. He gives me a price. I'm like, cool. Then I, get my sound guy and get that all situated. I made fucking stages to put in there to extend it out. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but those 2 extension stages, me and my father made those to make the stage bigger so that bands could play on the stage. So do all that. I go to all the businesses around them, even the temple, the Tibetan temple that's next door.
There's the Buddhist temple there. Yeah.
So I go over there. I let them know I got this all day thing going on. They're like, cool, that's fine. Peace be with you. And I'm also with you. Okay, cool. And I roll out to the other places because I need parking now. So I go to the businesses next door. I go over to the township building, and I tell them what I'm doing. And I'm like, listen, I'm doing a music festival over here tomorrow. I'm going to have some people parking over across the street, in that one parking lot because that's more designed. It's a public parking lot. They can park.
It's not a gravel lot. Yeah.
So, I go there the day before it snowed and I shoveled out like 2 spots. I'm like, fuck this shit. They can just park on the ice. End up doing the whole show. And I did not have one complaint except for the fact that Lamb of God was partying in Stanley's office behind the stage. And, Stanley comes walking in, and here's like Lamb of God with maybe like 10 other people in there. So there's like 15, 16 people in there drinking, smoking dope, probably doing other things. God knows what the fuck they were doing in there. And he fucking lost it. Get out of here. I just started screaming. And I go over there and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, everybody, this smell like, and he's like screaming at me in Polish. And I'm like, Stan, relax. I'll take care of it. I'll talk to you afterwards. Let's just get through this. I'll talk to you afterwards about it. All right. Just go over there and settle down a little bit. Okay. Let's steam out. Okay. Go. All right. He closed the door. Everyone gets their stuff out. He locks it. And the show went off without a hook. There was a fucking fire breather in there during their set. Some chick during Lamb of God set. That's a set that Luke does a backflip off the top of the speaker.
Oh shit, that's the one. I remember that specifically because he opens up with a line from Rambo. He goes, "It's over, Johnny. It's over, Johnny. It might be over, Johnny." And then he just fucking flips off the stage.
Yeah, and it was just like you're like looking at these reactions. I believe that was the show that we played A Great Artist in its entirety as well.
Yeah,
where people were yelling for us to play like Fourth Plague and Open Your Mouth songs, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, no. Joan said no.
Yeah.
We're just playing. This is a great artist, and this is what we're doing now. You know what I mean?
Here, let's circle back to A Life Once Lost. Now, you've really started to come into your own with the Fourth Plague Flies EP. I went back and listened to that, and there's still some real serious bangers on that. And, we had the lineup change with Bob coming into the fold. So how did we decide we're going to shift the sound to what became A Great Artist? Talk about some of those conversations.
It wasn't really. We wrote a song. We wrote a song with TJ. He talked about it. It was actually called "The Line Has Come," and it was actually slowly progressing into that sound, but with keeping that technical In Flames, Creation's Crucifixion influence on us with like that heavy breakdown element. TJ leaves the band, and now we're out a drummer. We try out this kid. He was in this band, the Orion Code. His name was Rob something, and he was perfect. He was a fucking machine, but he just didn't want to do it. He wasn't into touring. He wasn't into like making and like taking it to that next step. And then I run into I knew Justin from the Now and Neil Perry.
Yeah.
And then I hit him up, and then Andy Lowe knows Justin. We called him Bib. So he's like, yeah, man, I'll bring Bib up there, and Bib and Andy come up, we all of us get like stoned and we run through Fourth Plague stuff, and he's like, oh, this is easy, and then all of a sudden Meshuggah just had to really like kind of fuck things up, and they put out Nothing.
Yeah.
And then once Doug and I heard Nothing, it just really kind of like changed the pace for us a little bit. And he came into the practice with these riffs, and it was just like nothing I've ever heard. And, it threw everyone off. It threw Carpenter off. It threw Nick off. It threw Justin off. And it took Justin, like, it was weird for Justin to like kind of find that groove. But I mean, as soon as he found it, he fucking had it. Doug was a really tough dude to jam with. You know what I mean? Like Carpenter had the finesse. Doug had a lot of really good ideas, and not to say Carpenter didn't either, because the writing process was very equal between the two of those guys. They were very, very key in making that a Life Once Lost sound. Bobby tracked all the records. His hand is untouchable. You can't as a guitar player. I've never seen anyone with a hand like that besides upper echelon dudes that do it like a Frederick Thorndale or whoever. But yeah, they came in, and man, Doug was like, I want it to be this tempo the whole time. Bap, 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 bap. Bam, ba-dam, bam, bam, bam. And then that's where like all these riffs just and these ideas and the bends, like, I mean, we were taking a little bit more of like a southern approach to it, because I mean, then again, like Lamb of God and Pantera were also big influences on us as well. And Carpenter was always a huge like Swedish metal guy too, and it's Nevermore, bands like fucking Queensryche, stuff like that. Like it just bands that fucked that sound. Strappy Young Lad, shit, man. Just massive influences came into that record, and it was just weird, And then it was a really rough fall. And then Hunter came along, and in Hunter we worked with producers, because that's when we signed with Ferret. So we worked with Rob Caggiano and Eddie Wohl. We recorded everything up at Mill Creek, New York, up at Mill Creek Studios. And I did all my stuff at this place over in Manhattan, in the Brownstone section of that area, like 54th Street or something like that. And I would just record in the basement. Me and Bobby would just go there, and Bobby would do all his like rhythms, and he would do all his leads up in this other studio. You know, it was just fucking wild. But that's what created like us to be able to learn how to write songs. And then we do Iron Gag. We produced that ourselves. You know, Randy came in and helped me with it with Hunter as well. You know, he changed my.
How did you hook up with him?
It was just I knew the whole band. Like we're still good friends to this day.
Was it from booking them and stuff?
Yeah, but booking them. I mean, I booked them twice at the Polanka. I booked them once at 40 or the Rotunda in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I sang with them on stage at the Troc. I did the Steve Austin part on one of their songs, and then I went to a show at Chrome where it was Converge, American Nightmare, Lamb of God, God Forbid. I think Bleeding Through played it, and there was maybe somebody else played. And I show up with like Doug, and I run right into Chris Adler, and he's like, "Yo," he's like, "What's up, man?" I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he's like, "I'm like, where the guys at?" And he's like, "I got a little bit of a problem right now." He's like, "Do you know any of the songs?" And I'm like, I mean, like, kind of, sort of, like, why? What's up? And he's like, just let me know what you know, and I'll run into you in a second, or I'll come grab you in a couple minutes. So I'm like, I look at Doug, I'm like, what the fuck was that? Carl Severson from Farrah Good Fight comes up to me, and Nora, he comes up to me. He's like, "Yo, did you hear what happened?" And I'm like, "No, I have no idea what's going on." As he's telling me, Chris Adler walks up, and he's like, "Yo, so we left Randy in Richmond." I'm like, what? And he's like, "Yeah, we left him in Richmond because we couldn't find him or something, or he overslept." And I'm like, "Wow, that's interesting. What are you guys gonna do? Do you want to sing the first song?" And I got all these other guys. Carl's gonna sing a song, and Doug's like, "Yo, let me sing a song." There's all this going on, and there's all these random dudes around the stage that could sing.
Yeah.
And then I go out there, and I forget what fucking song it was. The first song off of New American Gospel. So we go into that, and basically, like, I go over to like I think Mark Morton, and I'm like, "Dude, like, I don't really know any of the words." He's like, "Randy doesn't either. Don't worry."
Black Label.
Black Label. Okay.
Black Label. Yeah.
So we play Black Label. And then I go up to Mark, like I said, and I'm like, "Mark, I don't know any of the words." And he's like, "It's cool. Randy doesn't either."
You just need to know the syllables.
Yeah, pretty much. So I had the idea because I've listened to the record, 100 times before that. You know, I'm a fan of the band already. They're good friends of mine now from hanging out, playing with them, booking them and stuff. So I go up and I do it, and I finish, and I look over at the side of the stage, and like everyone puts their hands up, and they're like, "You stay out there." And then, literally for like a solid like 2 or 3 days, they were thinking about kicking him out of the band just because of that. This is like, it wasn't even the height of him being all like fucked up. Like there's been many times I believe that like they've been very disappointed with his actions, but so, I do end up doing the entire fucking show. And it was just one of the most like fucking, again, like another, wasn't on my bucket list or my goal list of things to do, but I fucking did it. It was fucking wild as shit.
That's the dream scenario for that. We've talked about this on this show multiple times. That you literally, at least I literally dream about that at every hardcore show. It's like, singer's not here. We need you. Like that's the stuff of fantasies.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not making it up. You know what I mean? And I know there's probably a videotape out there floating around of the set, and it's probably horrid. It's probably so bad. But I would just love to see it.
If anyone has that tape,
it was from Club Chrome, South Amboy, New Jersey. It was an XSDB show with American Nightmare, Converge, God Forbid, and I believe Bleeding Through played as well.
Wow. Because the same thing happened to Mike Shaw, like with Shai Hulud. And I was at a 108 show, and they needed someone to sing Killer of the Soul, but I chickened out. I wish I wouldn't have.
Dude, never. Don't be a no man. Just do it.
I know, man. I know. Well, wow, that's incredible. So once a great artist dropped, that was a serious shift in sound for you. Did you get a lot of blowback? Because you were just playing that, right? You weren't playing any more old songs at all.
I know the first show we did it, and it was just kind of, I think, more of just like a punch in the gut for the local scene. Maybe why we did it, just to say we can do this. But I know when we went back out, we definitely were still playing maybe one or 2 songs off Fourth Plague just to keep people interested. But once we hit a certain point in it, we were just playing nothing but a great artist at that point, because it was just an unstoppable force. You know what I mean? Like, I know Meshuggah's done it, and there's a lot of other bands out there that have done that sound, but like you know, in this area, in this East Coast area, like, there wasn't a whole lot of people out there trying to do that.
No.
You know?
No, you were the only band from our area doing that. And I understand, because Meshuggah is one of those bands that I periodically become like obsessed with, and it's all I listen to for like weeks and weeks on end.
It's a band I can never honestly get tired of listening to.
Yeah.
It's absolute perfection. Every record they've ever done is just perfect. And, you know, I'll even go back and listen to some of the earlier stuff, you know, like the Nun EP, and it's the recording is fucking complete shit. But
Contradictions Collapse.
Oh my God.
It's fucking, dude, there's a couple songs on there that are just so, just go, if you haven't listened to Contradictions Collapse in a long fucking time, go back and listen to it. Like,
it was just it was different level. The Colin Frangensetto, he showed me Meshuggah. You know what I mean? And
he showed me them too. Yeah.
I talked about it on a Facebook post. I was talking about bands that when I listen to the record, it brings me back to the first time that I heard it, kind of thing. You know, so every time I listen to, you know, Chaos Sphere, I think of sitting in Colin's room and him just, you know, playing air guitar and making these like silly faces, sticking his tongue out and stuff. And, you know, just like being like, yeah, it's like a heavier version of Korn. And I'm like, what? Like, this is retarded. I have no idea what the fuck these guys are doing. You know?
There was we went to a Relapse showcase at the TLA, I think, and people were handing out a Meshuggah Chaos Sphere like 2-song cassette sampler. Colin was like hyping them, and that's how I first got turned on to them.
Yeah, it was just it was a band that I've never heard anyone do anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's different level of music, of being a musician. You know what I mean? Like, the drummer, you know, Thomas Hawk is possibly like one of the sickest drummers out there. You know, maybe not. Maybe, I mean, Morgan Adrian's not a slouch himself, but the band is just sick, dude. The band is so sick.
They invented that style, like that style where like the you know, the crash and the fucking snare are doing 4/4, but like they're literally following the rhythm guitar, like the breakdown
with their
section
feet.
With their feet. Yeah.
And it's an odd time signature too.
The time signature there's always poly, like they call that like that polyrhythm idea of like there's 2 rhythms layered over top of each other, but like that whole thing is just, I'd never heard anything like that. There was a kid in my high school, actually the original drummer from Audience of One, his name was Evan Madden. Evan showed me Meshuggah, and I remember him being like, you gotta check this song out, and it was Future Breed Machine, and I was like, at the time, I was like, a big like Earth Crisis, and I heard it, and I was
my friend calls that the original Alarm Clock metal song, and I always thought that was
this how fucking heavy that is. That the first time you hear that, like, I remember I heard that. I know exactly where I was sitting in Anthony's car when I heard that the first time.
Yeah.
Like, for sure, like, I remember exactly. I was sitting in the passenger seat of Anthony's car, and that kid Evan was like, "Yo, put this fucking tape in," and we're like, "All right," and put it in, and I was like, holy shit! Like, this is, I've never heard anything like this before, and now I'm obsessed.
Yeah, it was
that was always the best thing. Like, you know, like when you had the lead on a good band, and you're in the car, and you're like, "Yo, put this on," and like the crazier it was, like the more clout you had.
Oh, Bobby's the king of that. Bob used to be like, I remember Bob showed me some one time. He was like, "You got to listen to this band," and I was like, "All right." Bob, remember Moiser?
Yes,
from Germany. They put out a record called 2 Hours to Doom, and I remember Bob got a hold of it. I don't remember how he got it or who he got it from, but I remember him being like, "You have to hear this band." And I remember I was like standing in your bedroom, being like, "What the fuck is this?" And you're like, "Yeah, there's also like 10 people in this band." Like, there's like three
singers.
Yes, exactly.
It was Morser had a lot of dudes in bands over there that were like legendary, like Acme. Remember Acme?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Acme was one of those bands. Edison Recordings, I think, put that out, and I remember that just that first sample, and oh God, it was just crushing, you know.
Acme, that record is an all-time classic. All right, so we're talking about we're talking about how great Acme is. I mean, To Reduce the Choir to One Soloist is an all-time classic record.
Yeah.
That's like classic rock to me. Like I don't know, but do you guys listen to any classic rock? I don't, and it annoys me for
I
some reason.
do.
Classic rock to me is like Acme or like Minor Threat or like like old Converge, like Caring and Killing. Like that's my classic rock at this point.
No, see, I think this is Bobby. You probably can do this. Bobby and I like have had lots of like job site kind of jobs, like where you're working with like regular dudes.
94.1, 93,
94.1 or
102,
102.9, bro. Like it's fucking like
once I start hearing like grown men put on 104.5, I start losing my shit.
But it's like, I grew up like that was like one of my summertime jobs was like I worked at a shop where I did welding, and I remember like that was the thing was like, this one dude I worked with every day would be like, all right, so what are we listening to today? And like he would go through the CD wallet, he would bring a CD wallet from his car, and it was like fucking Sabbath Volume 4,
Like
fucking
Led Zeppelin,
Cream, huge Rolling. So Rolling Stones put out a record called Hot Rocks.
Yeah.
He fucking played that. I never liked the Rolling Stones. I always thought of them as corny when I was younger, and I was like, dude, the fucking Rolling Stones suck, dude. And then he put on Hot Rocks, and I was like, okay, there's some fucking amazing songs on here. Not only songs that are like catchy and poppy, but like some fucking dark shit, dude. Some really good shit.
I'm a big blues fan. I like the blues a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I can always go back to the blues. All those older bands were like just, like the Rolling Stones, Zeppelin. I mean, the Cream. They just ripped off all the blues guys. Yeah. But they're all good. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's fucking perfect music,
But there's a dude I used to work with that told me this story, and I remember him laughing like hysterically when he was telling me. But when Led Zeppelin came to America the first time, they went to Chicago, and they went to this place called the Checkerboard Lounge, and it's like basically what they kind of think of as like the home of the blues. That's where it kind of grew, like it came from, is this place. And the guy on stage starts introducing all the people that are going to play the night, and he's like, "Oh, we have a very special guest with us, the man who brought blues to England. Here he is." And it was Jimmy Page. The guy on stage goes, "Here he is, Led Zeppelin. Can you stand up for us, Led? Just for a second. Can you stand up and just give everybody a bow?" And Jimmy Page stands up and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like he really legitimately thought his name was Led Zeppelin.
Oh my God.
That was fucking hilarious. Every time that dude told that story, I was cracking up. I was like, it's just one of those things of like, when you hear like that style of music, you're like an immediate, like the opening to Heartbreaker. Like it's just, that's fucking rock and roll. It's so good when you first.
I agree.
Led Zeppelin is the one classic rock band who gets a pass from me. I can actually listen to and enjoy them. Not that I do it often, but I dig them.
You don't listen to Pink Floyd?
No, I don't. I just don't.
Wow.
I just don't get down with any of it. Now, you know what I do really like? The Coalesce Led Zeppelin record. Now that's classic rock.
That's probably why you like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. Exactly. Coalesce got me.
Yeah, Coalesce got you into it. There's like, what was that record called? Nothing New Under the Sun. That one.
Yeah. It's fucking amazing. So, Bob, tell us about. Now, you got Life Once Lost was on Ozzfest one summer, right?
We did 2005 Sounds of the Underground, the inaugural year, and we did last year of Ozzfest 2006.
So tell us about being on Ozzfest. Did you see any cool shit going down, or?
Yeah, I mean it's Sounds of the Underground was a little bit weirder for us because we weren't in a bus. A lot of bands were in buses, and we were one of maybe like 2 or 3 bands that were in a van. Yeah. So, it's like it was a lot of like really nasty driving, like 13-hour trips between shows. So it's like we'd have to leave like right when the show's over. All right, so we would have like there'd be like either Nick, Doug, or Bob would do the night drive. Mm-hmm. Or we had a roadie who would do the night drive. So whoever wasn't like trashed by the end of the night, they would have to drive. All right. Yeah. Or it would be just figured like, Everyone else is getting trashed, but you can have a couple beers, but you can't get trashed. Okay.
Now, was there ever a race to get trashed? So
No. It was we tried to make it communal, and
Yeah.
I think at the time I didn't even have a license. But
Oh
what we would do is we would drive overnight, and we had a van where we had like basically 4 people could sleep in it. So we had a bunk, but we had a bunk built.
You and your dad built that bunk in the back, right?
Yeah, every bunk that I ever had, me and him built. And anything that we ever had van wise, like wood in the van, like it was usually typically my dad would help me build it. None of the other guys would ever come over and fucking lend a hand. It was just me and him. We would go and do it, but so we're on like van number 15 at this point in our lives. And, we have this van, 2 seats with this loft with another loft underneath of it. So, and then we have a trailer. So you put all the gear in the trailer, that's where that was. And then we could all sleep in here. So, 2 people could sleep, and we had 2 benches. So 2 people could sleep in the bench. And then underneath the loft, there was another area where we would put like the luggage, but you could put like another person, if not 2 down there to sleep.
Yeah.
So I would always sleep down there. That would be my spot. I'd go in there. It was like a coffin. It was dark. I could just hear the tires going, like it would just lull me to sleep. Wake up in the morning, walk to the whatever gas station that we were at. I'd go to the bathroom, walk around there, grab like a Red Bull or something, take a shit, roll a joint, smoke a joint, and get in the van. And I would start driving without a license. And I did this every fucking day on that tour pretty much until somebody else woke up, because it would be so hot in the van if we were just sitting there. We're all sweating. It fucking stinks. God knows what kind of diseases were floating around there, like MRSA or fucking, ringworm. So I would just start driving. I'd put the windows down, crack the windows for everybody, and I would drive. And those guys would get like a solid, like 5-6 hours of sleep. Somebody would wake up, they would crawl up front with me. I'd end up rolling they would roll a joint, then we would stop, everyone would get out, they take their shits and pisses, and either I would continue to drive or somebody else would. We all took our turns to make it easier for everybody else as much as we could. I know we all butted heads, but what friends don't butt heads?
Yeah, do you miss it? Do you miss it?
I miss the performance aspect of it. I miss being able to play in front of people. When I watch videos of like Devin Townsend playing in front of 70, 80,000 people, and just wishing I had that chance to touch something like that. There's countries I wish I got a chance to play in. It was there's not a whole lot of regret doing what I do now, but yes, I do miss it at the end of the day.
I remember. So this is just one of those ones that I remember telling my mom, and my mom laughed at me, and she was just like, "So really, what's going on?" I was like, "Mommy, fucking A Life Once Lost is going to play in Russia," and she started laughing. She was like, "Yeah, so really, they're going to get their visas and get over there?" And I was like, "No, they're going to play there." Can you tell us just a little bit about being there?
Well, what happened was, I'll give you like the whole gist of like how we ended up like getting a chance to go there. So we're on tour right now with High on Fire and Saviors for about 2 months. All right. We have a 2-month long fucking run with them. And it was fucking pretty awesome. I think Intronaut was on some of the dates. Car Bomb was on some of the dates. Wake was on some of the dates. So it was cool. And right about in the beginning, maybe second weekend, we get an invite because one of the bands had to drop off this Himsa tour that was going to Europe. So we're like, fuck yeah, we'll do it. And they're like, there's one thing, like, you guys got to get your visas to go to Russia, because there's 2 shows in Russia. There's a show in St. Petersburg. Then you take a night train to Moscow and you got that show. And we're like, wow. Oh, okay. That's kind of cool. So we, our bass player at the time, Nick wasn't in the band. We were just using fill-in dudes. We were using this kid, Evan Borden, who plays in Ethos now, who was in Animosity. He was out jamming with us for a little while. We ended up picking up Nick Hale, and from the band Premonitions of War. He was also a fill-in guy for Burnt by the Sun. Became a really, really good friend of mine, really, really quick. So we finished this U.S. tour. We're in LA, and we're getting ready to fly out to Europe. We got all our visas straightened out. Everything's good. So now we're on the road for 2 months. We fly to Europe. So we fly from LA to Denver. We meet up with we meet up with the Himsa guys. And then we fly out of there into Frankfurt, Germany. And then from there, we get onto our bus with the guys in Too Pure to Die. And we just do this fucking month-long, 6-week-long fucking tour in fucking Europe. Then we end up back in like Hamburg, Germany, fly into St. Petersburg. And we literally flew in. It wasn't like an airport. It was like you flew in, and it's like if you ever been to like Trenton airport, it's kind of like that. Like you got to walk out onto the actual like the runway.
Walking to the tarmac,
yeah. You're walking out into the tarmac. You're not walking through the fucking tunnel in the air. You walk out and you're beneath the plane, and you fucking walk up the stairs to get onto this plane. So we walk down the stairs off this plane. And there's like fucking 2 or 3 dudes there, like ready to meet us. And they're like, oh, like Life Once Lost, Himsa. We're like, yeah, what's up, man? They're like, oh yeah, it's so good to have you here. It's going to be awesome. We're just going to take you through all this stuff. And they open up the doors, and as we walk in, it's just like you're in St. Petersburg, like Russia. Like you're looking at these people and these old women, like it's very stereotypical of like what a Russian woman looks like, and that's what they look like. And everybody's just staring at us because all of us are just wearing nothing but black pants. I'm wearing fucking flip-flops. I'm a fucking black hoodie. I got a fucking like one of those Middle Eastern scarves that you put around, those real big long scarves that you fold in half a couple times. I'm wearing one of those. I got like long hair. And we go to the first show, and it's fucking weird. It's straight, like not a lot of nature, not a lot of green, a lot of gray, a lot of white. A lot of concrete. They're very fucking, very, very proud country. A lot of monuments to stuff that went on there. So we end up playing a show. There was maybe like 60 people there. It wasn't very good, but we still played. They fed us. Food was fucking shit. But the experience was still awesome. In the middle of the set, me and Doug get into a fight on stage.
Right? What was that about?
It was about the monitors were feeding back on my microphone, and he didn't like the fact that I kept like fucking. Now I was doing it on purpose because the front of house guy wasn't turning the monitors down on my microphone, so I just kept doing it on purpose, just being an asshole because sometimes when I played I was a little bit of an asshole. Yeah. So I'm playing and he comes over and he fucking like kicks me, so I backed up and I do a fucking what's the singer who refused? What's his name?
Oh, Dennis Lizen, I think.
Yeah, Dennis, like a Dennis move, like a James Brown style move. Take the microphone and I start swinging it. But in my left hand, I had it choked. I don't think he saw that. And I fucking took it and I flung it right at his face. Ooh. And I fucking grabbed it, pulled it back real fast.
Whoa.
And now we're like getting ready to go at it. We get into the backstage area and we're fucking going at it, like screaming at each other, like, fuck you, fuck this, fuck you. I'm gonna kick your ass. No, you're not. Like, it ends up blowing over.
Yeah.
So now we're like wrapping everything up in this fucking venue. We have army bags full of our American merch that we bring over. We just put them in army bags, and that's our check-in. Mm-hmm. So that way we don't have to pay like European rates on merchandise. So now we're making even more money on what we're selling it at. So we're on our way to the night train, and we're late. And now we're running down the fucking down this the platform, trying to catch up to this train, or else we're going to be left in St. Petersburg, and we're not going to make the show in Moscow. Yeah. So I remember having, like a bag on my back, my personal bag on my front, and carrying 2 merch bags, and literally running down the platform, and it was like a scene out of like A League of Their Own. When Gina Davis comes up in there and she grabs Kit and throws the bag up, throws that thing in there, grabs his sister, throws her up in there. Like we were literally like throwing things in there, like handing guitars, and it was like a train to get everything in there. And we almost missed the night train. So night train takes about 10 hours.
Wow,
and now we end up at Moscow or 6, might have been 8. I don't know, which is a long time. We're sharing me and our merch guy Lou, we're sharing a sleeper car with these 2 other people. And we're talking back and forth, and this fucking Russian soldier underneath me. I didn't know. And he stands up and looks at me. He's like, shh. And he goes and lays back down. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? I'm like, oh, this is not good. This is not good.
Wow.
And we finally get there. Okay. And it's early in the morning. We're all fucking tired. No one really fucking slept. And first thing we do is they take us to get food. And then after that, they took us around fucking Moscow. They took us to Red Square. Like we saw the KGB, we saw the Kremlin, you know, we were standing in an area that there was a vicious genocide happened, and the streets were red with fucking human blood, you know, like this is a fucked up place that we're standing in. The fucking Lenin's graves over there with his body that's, you know, there. It's fucking weird, man. It's fucking weird. And, you know, there's people telling us like they've had family members go into the KGB building that have never come back out of that KGB building.
That's
It's fucking weird over there. Okay. So, you know, we end up getting to the venue, and we're fucking just like rapping. We're chilling with people. There's a McDonald's right next door. There's stray dogs everywhere, you know, and they're like kind of aggressive. Like when you're eating, like kind of like monkeys in other countries, and like seagulls down the shore where like you're eating a French fry and it swoops down and grabs your French fry. You know, it's kind of like that. Like I'm eating a chicken nugget from a Russian McDonald's. And here comes a dog. I'm about to put it in my mouth, and he comes up and he literally like just took it right out of my hand. You know, I was like, I guess you were hungry. I guess I'm not either. Okay.
I think that was karma, because Mike Shaw and I have this old joke where we'd be at the Blue Fountain Diner, and he would always order chicken fingers, and you'd always be like, oh, can I get one of those? And then he'd be like, yeah, and then you'd take one. So see how it all came full circle?
Yeah, probably everything comes back in full circle. So we end up playing the show. The show is fucking insane. There's probably like a good like 250 people there. By like near the end of it, they're chanting "A Life Once Lost." They're carrying me around on their shoulders and shit. Like it was just one of the like, it was like Enter Rudy. Like they literally like they carried me around, you know. And afterwards, like we're talking, we're like shooting a shit. There's this kid from London there. He's studying film over there. And he comes up to me with a bottle of vodka. Me and I think it was either Justin or it was Nick. And we're sitting there and going back and forth. He brings up, he's like, oh, it's so nice to be able to like speak English. Like not everyone around here like appreciates like the language, and they kind of look down on the fact that like my Russian's not very good. Yada yada. We start drinking this, and these 2 fucking Russian dudes that were at the show come out, and they're like, they start talking to us, and the bottle of vodka gets to this Russian guy, and he looks at it, takes it, throws it over his shoulder, crashes. This kid from London is like, dude, like, you know how much that cost me? And he's like, I'll replace it. I'll get you better vodka. But that's trash. He goes over to this like little like mart thing right on the street, buys a bottle of vodka right out of there, comes back over. He drinks it. He gives it to me. He's like, Nostrova, the cheers for Russian. He's like, Nostrova. And I drink it, and I'm like having a very hard time swallowing this because it's like straight peppered vodka. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And I'm like, here, if I can hand it to fucking whoever was next to me. Everybody drinks it. He drinks it, and he like holds it up and he chugs it.
Oh my God.
And like half the bottle. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And he's like, good, right? Then he fucking punches me in my fucking chest. And I'm like, yeah, it's real good, dude. Yeah. I'm like hurting now. I'm like, this is fucking gonna be that bad. So a promoter comes out, all the bands are out, all of our merchant gear are outside now. And he starts fucking waving his hand at the curb. And he all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these like 1970, 80 Mercedes, BMW, diesels come whipping over to us. And he starts speaking in Russian. And I'm like, I'm not getting in there. And he's like, it's cool. I'll get in there with you. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, these are gypsy taxi guys. Like, they just do this at night to make extra money. Yeah. So here, he sets up like a series of between us and Himza to get us back to this house that we're spending the night at. There's probably like 6, 7 like gypsy taxi drivers. Took us all right to this house. Who knows if one of these guys just would have kidnapped one of us and just taken it somewhere else, you know? End up at this house. You know, the party a little more, everyone ends up passing out. Now we fly out of Russia back to Frankfurt, Germany. Fly out of Frankfurt, we were there for 2 or 3 days. Fly out to LA to pick up our van and trailer. Now we're flying out to LA, but we land in DC first. All right. Get on another plane, fly there from DC to LA, get off the plane. Now we got to catch a cab all the way down to where we parked our van at some kid's house. Get in our van, and then we start driving. And we drove all the way across country. So, I mean, we were out on the road for probably a good 4 months straight.
Yeah.
Without a break. Like, besides like a little random day off in between kind of things. But yeah, it was just one of those, like, that was not, and playing Russia was not on my bucket list. It was not on my goals.
Not on your goal list?
No, it was not. You know, going to like Europe and stuff was, you know, I didn't think that was possible. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think at all I would have ever had a chance of going there, you know, but I went. It was
That's
sick.
Awesome, though. I mean, yeah, some of the best times, I was out on a couple tours with This Day Forward and just driving across the country. And I imagine being in Europe and Russia is just like really awesome stuff to get to experience.
Yeah, it's the scenery in the U.S. I mean, I always tell people, like, start here when you're traveling. Like, this country is the just the areas that you can hit. You can be, you know, it's snowing one day in Flagstaff, Arizona, and then all of a sudden you pass over this pass of the Rockies, and it's a straight fucking desert on the other side of the fucking mountains. Like, the ecosystem that our country contains is so fucking unique within itself that you will literally hit the plains of the Midwest to the Rocky Mountains and going over Donor's Pass into California and going down the Pacific Coast Highway and you know, cruising through the mountains. And it was always a big thing with the Life Once Lost is like we considered ourselves to be gypsies after 2005. It was just our mindset was that we would just do everything or try to do as much as ourselves as we could. So let's have fun with this. Like, we're seeing stuff. Okay, let's go to a watering hole. Let's go to somewhere where we can like do some crazy fucking rock jumps. Let's go find a fucking like a river that we can like kind of like stroll down. Let's go find these like these rocks that are carved out through like, you know, thousands and thousands of years of like water just rolling through them, and now they've just made these rock slides. You know, like dude, it's a fucking vacation. You treat it like a vacation. It's life isn't serious all the time. Like, once I started taking it serious and making it more business oriented, that's when it stopped becoming fun. That's when it became a job. You know what I mean? Like, we stopped working for ourselves and we are working for a reason to be able to support ourselves because this is our profession.
Yeah. So once Iron Gag came out, that was the last record on Ferret, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember there was like a hiatus after that. Were you guys broken up, or were you just taking some time off? I don't really remember.
I think we were just taking time off. I think that's after Iron Gag. I mean, Nick left after Hunter. He went on to become a steam fitter. Justin and Bobby both left after Iron Gag. That's when
Vexes now.
Yeah, now they play in Vexes, and I heard a Vexes demo last night. That's just it's like a Life Once Lost, Alice in Chains, like a Deftones kind of vibe to it. It's fucking It's really, 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 really good, really good. I got to hear one song of it last night, so it was cool. But then we went on when we had to find a drummer. That's where Jordan Krause came into effect. We needed a bass player. That's where Mike Sabala came into the mix. We had a lot of other random like guitar players came in, Taylor Madison, John Roth, and everyone just they weren't vibing well with our mix of our sense of humor, of our like tightness of what me and Doug were. Okay, so it was always like me and Doug were now the backbones. We were the guys still pushing this forward. We write a record and we scrap it because I just didn't believe in it. It was basically, it sounded like it was going more in a direction of what Ecstatic Vision is right now, what Doug does. And it wasn't something that I was totally 100% vibing with, because we took the element of what A Life Once Lost was and changed yet again. on another record. We're not gaining fans at this point. We're losing fans, and it's hard to regain people that have already like forgot about you after the Fourth Plague, or already forgot about you after Hunter. So we have a little sit down, me and him, and we say we're going to do this. Let's do this, and I want you to make it fucking heavy. I want you to do what you want to do with this drone. And I mean, I'm already listening to krautrock like stuff and all that, the progressive stuff that came out of England back in the 60s and the 70s.
A lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Japanese blues scene and the South American psych scene. Like I'm everywhere musically at this point. I'm not listening to metal. I'm not listening to hardcore, and any hardcore I'm listening to is like fast pissed, really like ignorant, like California Love, Trash Talk, Hatred Surge, like Pig Destroyer, Meshuggah, Cannibal Corpse, like ignorant metal stuff I'm listening to. But now I'm experimenting. I'm getting into like that drone raga, like Indian, like stuff. And it's just blowing my mind. And that's when we started to maybe incorporate a little bit of like, we took a little bit of that great artist aspect again, made it all at one tempo, but let's drone it the fuck out. So, I mean, Doug brings down his Leslie with his Hammond organ, and we have a lot of the organ on Ecstatic Trance. It's another record that we just did ourselves, now,
I think it's one of your best. That's the record I go back to all the time still. And I remember Doug, right? I remember hearing that whole thing being written because
you were living in that house.
Yeah, with Doug, and you lived there too. And I just remember hearing it all come together, and then seeing it live, seeing those new songs live, and then seeing that run of shows at KFN and seeing it all in person was just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, at that point we have Chris Way, who's playing with us. I call him Hammerfist. He's playing with us bass now. He's a fucking sick guitar player. He just picked it up naturally. We just do that run, and we had some really good shows, and we had some shows that were questionable. But to me, like I was losing interest in it, and then I mean, some other like nonsense happened between me and Jordan, and he leaves the band, and then at this point. We've literally have exhausted like every fucking option. I remember sitting on the step at the Survivor House and just saying, dude, I think this is done. I don't think there's anywhere else we can go. And he's like, dude, this can't be it. And I'm like, dude, I'm not like, I think I want to try to start a family or something, or I want to try to settle down a little bit. I think like me living this way isn't good for my emotions, my psyche. I'm falling apart. Like at this point, I'm being blacklisted as a promoter, so it's hard for me to book shows. So now I've lost that. I'm losing my music. I'm losing everything. And depression is just slowly just setting in.
Yeah.
And I'm still working, I'm still like fucking doing stuff. I'm living out on my own in Bristol, and I had a fucking really like fucking rough night one night, man. And just, I felt like I've done everything I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do anything more. And I fucking try killing myself. And I spent a fucking week in a fucking mental institution. And it was just fucking brutal. And they kept just trying to push meds on me. They're like, this medication's going to make you better, but it might cause you to be more depressed. No, I'm cool. I don't need that. I'm cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have the medicine that I use every day, and I'm fine. And I still have these fucking thoughts. And I mean, these thoughts have existed since I've been 17 years old, 18 years old. And I've tried it multiple times, and it's fucking brutal, and it's scary, and I'm still here, and I live with it every fucking day, and it's a hard thing to fucking talk about. And I know that people every day, and they always say this, I'm always here for you. I'm always here to talk, but you don't know what I'm going through right now. And that's why I don't talk to people, because if I tell them what's in my head, a lot of the times it scares fucking people off.
It's too much for some people. I think that's the thing, is like people are like they love to say that, like, hey, I'm here for you. And it's like, all right, well, let's fucking FaceTime.
Okay, let's do this right now. And then
not today. Yeah, no, not today, man. No,
I'm busy. It's that. Okay, I realize your life's busy, and that's cool. But I mean, what if that time is the time that I actually needed you, and you couldn't do that, and I actually went through with that?
Yeah,
Let me say this. Now, one, Bob, I am glad you're still here. And two, yes, it's so hard. What most people don't realize, it's so hard to talk about this stuff because when you're struggling, you don't know what to do, you don't know where to go, you don't know, and getting getting the right help is such work. It's trial and error. You have to try various methods. You have to try various people. It's hard. So, and when you're putting all that effort into trying to better yourself and coming up with nothing, you're like, what the fuck is the point? Like, why am I even doing this? So, yes, normal ass people are not the people to contact. You got to find your fucked up community.
Yeah. There's somebody. No, there's somebody else out there that you can talk to, that you can speak to, and that you guys can fly off of each other.
You know what?
Yeah. Let me say this. I too have had many struggles, which I think you're aware of, Bob.
Yeah.
And really, I've tried medicine and relationships and moving and all that kind of bullshit, and it didn't work for me. What really worked for me was finding what I was missing in my life was people. I had created a life where all I did was go to work and go home and get high and watch TV. And it was just a fantasy life where I didn't have to deal with anybody or see anybody because I was so afraid of being hurt or having to deal with anything that I completely took that off the table. You know, it's just not something I'm going to do. So really the answer for me was finding people and community and like, you know, that spiritual connection through people and just talking to people in general. Like that was what was missing for me. So whatever that ends up being for whoever, that's what I recommend for people. And slowly I was able to like crawl out of the darkness and start to trust people again. And now I have like more people to talk to than I can even keep up with. I mean, I just put that out there as a I don't know if it can help you or anybody else.
Yeah, the trust thing is probably one of the biggest things. You know what I mean? And even sitting down with like a psychiatrist, like I don't like it at all. Yeah. I think it's a very like and but don't get me wrong. This is just my personal opinion on it because I know out there's somebody listening to this that a psychiatrist has actually helped them.
I'm sure.
I've never met
that psychiatrist who saves their life, but for your experience,
it doesn't work.
Yeah. And it is what it is. Like, I think that's one of those things that, like, I can't speak to. Like, I've had things that are tragic in my life. Like, my father passed away when I was younger and stuff. But I've never really had serious bouts of, like, I've heard people describe their depression before and then talk about how they felt. And I can't ever relate to it. I've had days where I'm down and I feel shitty. But I always think back to, like, I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like there's something there that I'm like, all right, well, I'm working towards this, or like I'm able to talk myself into it. I think that's the thing. What people don't understand with, especially something like depression, is that it's most people have never, when they're like, oh, I'm depressed. You are not clinically depressed. Like it's the same way when people say, oh, I'm OCD about that. No, you fucking aren't. Like, have you ever seen someone with real obsessive compulsive disorder? Like I had a student, dude, I had a student years ago that washed his hands obsessively and legitimately had to go to like dermatologists to like, he would have to wear gloves during the day, like, because this kid was washing his hands. Can you imagine doing something that you know is wrong and hurting yourself and like washing your hands, and his hands were like bloody raw and he would still fucking wash them with the hottest fucking water. You would see him in the bathroom. You're like, what are you doing?
So he had like burns in his hands. Yeah.
I can't. So that's where I think that's where the disconnect is. So that's whenever Bobby texts me and it's like, yeah, you want to FaceTime? I'm like, yes, immediately. Like, how fucking. The other thing is, and I think this is something that I haven't gotten into with like, but like whenever there's anything that's I've needed anything, Bob has been someone that has been a constant supporter. I can remember, and I was telling Bob this story last night, and he was like, oh shit, I remember this. I think Bob booked a show at Kung Fu Necktie. I don't know if it was a Life on Sauce was playing it or why I was there, but I know Bob was there. And I had way too much to drink. I had partied way too hard on the way there. And I remember seeing him and he was like, yo, you all right? And I was like, no, I'm not cool. Bob Bob kicked this dude out of the booth and was like, my friend needs to sit down, get the fuck out of here. And literally sat down, got me water, got me something to eat. Like literally was like, dude, I'll take care of you. I got you. And I had not seen, and I'm not exaggerating at this point, I probably hadn't seen Bob in a year. But instantaneously, he was like, I got you. I had a tree fall down in my fucking front yard. What was that, Bobby? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
As soon as he saw it, I posted a picture on Instagram. He was like, yo, I'll fucking come and clean that up tomorrow. Like, within 10 minutes, he was texting me. He's like, yo, me and my boy will come by and we'll fucking scope it out. We'll clean it up. Luckily, I had neighbors that were fucking, like,
They were chainsaw eager.
Dude, they were so hype on it. Older dudes with chainsaws, like, because they don't really get to use them. They spent fucking $350 on these things, and they're sitting in their garage. As soon as they see the opportunity to use it, these dudes were like, yo, let's go cut this dude's tree up. But
Tommy, you realize that one day that's going to be you.
100%. I have immediate. It's really funny. Is like, but the other thing is with Bobby though. Like, Bob's always been like, when I was on the phone with him the other night, he was like, you all right? And I was like, yo, I'm sorry. We're like FaceTiming, and I'm staring at the text message from my wife. We're trying to sleep train the baby, and the baby is up and screaming. And my wife's like, all right, the one girl's up, like my one daughter's up and she's in the bathroom and she needs help. And the other one is literally like 7 months old and screaming. Bobby's like, go, do what you got to do, man. Take care of your family. I got you. Like, we'll pick this back up, like, when we can. But I think that's one of the things that, like, our relationship has always been like, you have always been like an older brother. Like, you always looked out for me. You always took care of me when shit went wrong. I kicked somebody in the face at the kill time, and I did not know the person I kicked in the face was someone very, very
dangerous.
Yes. That was his girlfriend. And Bob took up for me immediately. He was like, oh, that's my boy. He was just, you guys all dance hard. He was dancing hard as fuck. Like, just chill out. It was an accident. Shit happens. He'll come over. He'll shake hands. It'll be fine. Like, fuck it. Had Bob not been there, I absolutely would have gotten stabbed. For sure. Like, those guys were fucking so furious.
I had a lot of respect back in the day because of who I was and the people that I knew. You know what I mean? And I treated everyone the way that they treated me. So if you treated me like a piece of shit, or if you talked bad about me or something like that, then, you can consider it to be just one of those things. Like, I might not help you next time kind of vibe. And I mean, even at the kill time, like doing shows back there, I was doing some fucking wild things. Shit. That was when Poison the Well put out Opposite of December. That was their first show in Philly. Since they let their other singer go, they used to have two singers back in the day. So here they are, and they're playing. And This Day Forward, I believe, played that. Joshua for Battle played that. It was somebody's record release show. And
that was This Day Forward, yeah.
Okay, so some kid had a seizure in the middle of the kill time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, me being like, I was like a lifeguard, so I have like some kind of like first aid knowledge. Like, the first thing I do is I grab a piece of paper, and the kid pissed himself. You know what I mean? But I just wanted to make sure like it was piss and wasn't blood. So I dip it down on that fucking little fluid on the ground. It's piss. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, let's do this. We got to get space for this kid. So everyone again, like, worked with me. We gave space. And there were 600 fucking people in the kill time, and totally illegal, 100% to the bone, illegal. And here come paramedics and cops walking in, and they're just looking around, and I was in the middle of them, and I heard them saying, what the fuck is going on here? And I'm like, oh, we're just, there's just a bunch of kids. We're here watching music. No one's drinking. No one's doing anything. We're all good here. We're all good here. It's like, all right. I'm like, what's the problem? And I'm like, a kid had a seizure. We got to get him out of here. And we're like, okay, let's do this. And what's the easiest way? This way. All right. Boom. In, get the kid's out. All right. Show goes on. But
wow, I don't even remember that.
It was just one of those things. It was, if someone, shit, I did a show at Polanka Park, and I know exactly who hit this kid. I don't know who the kid was.
Oh my God.
But he hit him with a garden hoe, a 3-pronged garden hoe in the back of the neck.
Oh no.
And this kid was bleeding.
That was at the Lamb of God show, right?
I don't think it was the Lamb of God show. I think it was at a
die cast.
It was like a heavier, like kind of moshy show.
This was That wasn't a.
And
It wasn't a garden hoe. It was a dent puller for a car. If you guys are familiar, if you Google dent puller for a car, it's like a 3-pronged thing with a big hunk of weight in the middle of it. It's fucking.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to get fucking hit with it.
No, you don't want to get hit. So this kid's bleeding all over Polanka Park in the bathroom. And here I am, and I walk in, and he thinks I'm one of the kids. And I'm trying to explain to him I'm not. I'm trying to help this kid. And he's fucking and he's in panic mode. He's going to go into a shock real quick. And so basically what I do is I calm him down, bring him water, get some shit on the back of his fucking neck. And his friend was still there. And I grab his friend, I bring his friend in the bathroom. I'm like, listen, this is what we're doing because I don't know where like these kids are. I don't need the cops that are right across the street over here right now. So we're not calling the cops. What you're doing is you're putting your boy in his car and you're driving this kid to the hospital. Right down this road, go straight. Go.
Yeah.
And you could say whatever the fuck happened, but do not bring the police into this, whatever you do, please. They never did. I never saw that kid again. I guarantee that kid probably never went to a concert in his life after that.
Yeah, the shows were pretty dangerous back in the day. I remember a big
Faith Reformed Church show.
Yeah, that's like a classic, like, just crazy.
Was that the one the ladder got thrown?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ladder was thrown. I'm friends with like 3 or 4 of those kids now. They're like totally. They have families. You know what I mean? They're like straight up dads. They don't like it's weird. Like we all could have been what we were younger, but at a certain point in our lives, like our past is that fucking bad that you have to just change, naturally. It takes time, dude. But there you are. Tommy's an example.
Dude, I fucking
Keith,
teach math.
You're an example.
I teach math for a living to 11-year-olds. Like, if you would have told me in 99, 2000, 2007, if you would have been like, yeah, you're going to have 3 kids, you'll have a nice house, you'll have a great job, like you'll have a happy
beautiful
marriage.
Wife, you know what I mean? Like you're going to be happily married, everything.
No way I would have thought that. In my head, I'm going like, no, this is you to go out and get fucked up and, fight people and be a dick.
Yeah, pretty much.
My only specific plan was ever to go out and get fucked up, which I certainly regret now. But, I got past it. So,
but Keith, what it does is it makes your character stronger now. You know what I mean? Like if you didn't experience that life, you wouldn't be who you are sitting here, like in front of your computer talking to me today. If you don't go through those fucking struggles in life to feel what a struggle actually feels like and not just read the definition of it, actually experience real life fucking struggle, like you cannot appreciate like that life like this. Like I'm thankful for this. Well, actually, you know what? I'll take that back. I'm not thankful for half the fucking shit I did. I'm very remorseful for a majority of the stuff that I've done in my life.
Yeah.
But,
I feel bad for a ton of shit,
but now that I look on it and I'm like, I'm not that person anymore. Like I hold myself in a different like demeanor and a different standard of living. And it's for the better. I know this. I understand that.
Yeah. No, I 100%. I think there's certain things about my life that I try to teach my girls now. And one of the things, this is going completely full circle. And this is literally the first thing I started talking about Bobby with the other day was I always talk about with my daughters, like, sometimes you just have to take risks because sometimes risks are really, really fun. And if you calculate them enough and really think about it, like it's not really that risky, but in the moment, like there's some sense of being really in that moment and being scared or being nervous and enjoying it. And especially the thrill of when it's over and you overcame something. So one of those things that, Bob, you were 100% responsible for this was bringing me to Byberry. Like when we were younger, if you guys aren't familiar with it, Byberry was a mental institution that had, I think, opened in the 1880s, 1890s. And then it was closed during the Reagan administration, I think in 83.
Yeah, and they let all the patients go.
And I remember reading a study.
It was if the patients didn't have families and the families didn't want them, the patients were released.
Yeah, the super high level people that were like criminal.
They were transferred.
Yeah, they were transferred. But people that had been either like people that had been been like essentially involuntarily committed, like people that had been, schizophrenic and all these serious problems, like, people that had bipolar disorder or borderline disorder, were just released onto the streets. And a good chunk of them didn't know where to go. I remember reading a study years ago that said something like the area of like 30% above, or 30% or more of the homeless that were in Philadelphia were a direct result of people leaving Byberry and making their way towards Center City.
Yeah.
But we used to go there after they closed it. When do you think we really started going there? That was high school, right?
JD was a senior or junior in high school when we started going.
So 99, like 98,
like
99.
98, 99. I think I just graduated. I was out.
Yeah.
That's when like Mark Meebus would come down from like Doylestown and shit.
From Plumstead, yeah.
From Plumsteadville, and he would come all the way down, and we would all go out together. It was always wild. It was always something that was going to fucking happen. And getting chased by security guards.
Yes,
you know?
Remember they got quads at one point, and they were chasing us around with quads. But I remember that's like one of those things where it's like it was a huge risk to go in there. But
because if you got caught, you were going to get fucking a lot of trouble for that.
Oh yeah,
trespassing. I mean, all that shit.
Yeah, and it's wild now to think like, one of the things that I always thought about when we went over there was, and this is something I've kind of reflected on, like as I've slowed down, like, with being like sober in my life, like, and kind of like taking steps to kind of like remove portions of like getting like way fucked up. One of the things that we thought about, I was like, oh my God, we used to go into Byberry. And I'm like, in my head, like I'm telling this story as like a 38-year-old person going, oh yeah, but we used to get real fucked up before we went in. I'm like, no, we didn't. None of us. No, we didn't get high.
Because I was still straight edge at the time. JD was straight edge.
I was straight edge, I think, at that point in time. Like this was just us breaking into a mental institution to go fucking wander around. And the other thing people don't know about Byberry, if you're not familiar with it, there's a good chunk of people that no one lives in there. People, that was like the whole thing. Oh, fucking people live in there. There may have been one or two random homeless people that kind of like camped out in there for a little bit. The vast majority of people you saw in there that were not other kids exploring it were people stripping copper. Like people just ripping fixtures out, people stripping copper to go scrap it. Like that's pretty much the only people that you ever saw in there.
I remember going in there during the day once with Mike McGonigal, and that was surreal. Just seeing the light shine through and just the dust and the asbestos.
The amount of dust,
everywhere, just floating in the air. You're breathing it in. It's just, oh, Jesus Christ.
And it seemed like they closed the place in such a rush.
Yes.
Because there was so many things. Like there was,
we found the film room and we found all those films, and they had films that basically they would show the orderlies how to handle patients. They also, I found an 8mm Jaws, the original Jaws movie.
Do you have any of that shit?
No, I didn't see. I wasn't a collector of junk then. I turned into a collector of junk when I got a little bit older. That would be good
shit to have, like you play that on like a projector in the back while you're like playing a show. That's
my God! And you can like give the whole story of like where you actually found this. Like we were in the projection room. We were in the medicine room. There was a crematorium, the rubber rooms.
I was there for that. I was
the nurseries and stuff like that.
I found there was a nurse's station. The nurse's stations on certain parts of the building were set up on the corners. So they were like this, like they looked like a big semicircle. And I remember we got into one because somebody had smashed out the whole door. The doors were like that, like the glass with like the wire inlay. So it was really hard to break through. So somebody had like taken like a old fire extinguisher and smashed it out. So you were able to get in there, and there wasn't much in there, but there was a lot of file cabinets, and we started going through the file cabinets, and I actually found a piece of paper. I still have it somewhere upstairs, which was that paper they give you in like kindergarten and first grade, which is like the real heavy blue lines and then like the dotted red line in the middle. And it was some guy that was practicing his uppercase and lowercase alphabet. And I remember its name it said Franklin at the top, and it said age 33, and it looked like a child's writing like on it. And I remember being like, I folded it up, I put it in my back pocket, and I put it away for 20 years at this point. And I was cleaning stuff out, like maybe,
and you found it,
and I found it, and I was like, oh my
That's cool,
God.
Man.
It was just like, holy shit. And that all those moments rush back to you of, we lived such we thought everything was hilarious. There was never anything about that time that made me like. There was like heartbreak and stuff like that with girls and whatnot, but like thinking back on that time with my friends, it was magic. We had so much fun. Everything was everything was hilarious. I don't ever remember going anywhere without like having like, especially if like depending on the people that were around, just cracking up the entire time. Like the whole time just fucking laughing. Like everything was making noises, teasing people, coming up with nicknames for people. Like it was just I think back on that time and it's like it was such
there was definitely a lot of teasing that went on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
all right, guys. Well, I'm going to segue off of Byberry and back into music. So, Bob,
that'll be the next hour of us, my band.
Yeah. Bob, let's get down to the straight business. Now, do you think A Life Once Lost will ever play a show again?
Hard to say. I mean, we've certain members have tossed around the idea of maybe trying to do something, but I don't want it. I want it to be right. I don't want it to be forced. I mean, it was always. I'll say that I did get together with with 3 of the dudes, and we did play a little bit, and the feelings that I got from like singing like Surreal Atrocities and whatnot was kind of surreal.
Wow.
But man, it's hard to say. We got offered to play one of the beer fests. I think like 2 years ago when Integrity played the pre-show or something like that. And we were going to be like another band on the bill or something, and we just couldn't get it together. Just everyone's lives are all mixed up and whatnot.
Yeah.
A lot of guys don't like the communication is there amongst a few, not everybody. So if there was a reincarnation of it, it might not be an exact same lineup. But then again, what lineup was the Life Once Lost lineup?
What was ever the solid lineup anyway?
Yeah, there was like 3 different lineups.
Yeah, we had the demo, the Open Your Mouth. We had the Fourth Flag era. We had the Great Artist, Hunter, Iron Gag era. And then we had the Ecstatic Trance era. We definitely we molded ourselves into, we grew as we went. We always matured. We never did the same record over and over. We found formulas and they worked. That's cool. But why are we going to constantly rewrite the same fucking record over and over? That's boring. It's bland. It's dumb. It's a waste of time.
So there's a possibility. There's been discussions. There's even been a rehearsal, it sounds like.
Yeah, there has been stuff. I mean, there's a possibility, but when? No time soon. You know what I mean? Obviously not 2020, not 2021 probably either.
Yeah.
I mean, between like Carpenter and Justin both being, as busy as they are with Vexes, I'm not trying to take anything away from them. Nick has a beautiful family right now. He's a union steam fitter, so he does very well for himself, and he's living his best life right now. So it's not a main priority. I think if there was one person in the band itching to do it and pushing to do it, it would probably be me.
Yeah.
Just to feel it, what it felt like, to feel that way one more time kind of thing. Right. But it wouldn't be a tour, it'd be maybe like a handful of shows, if that. And that would be it.
I think that's the way to do it, honestly. We're all older now. It's like, who wants to get back in a van and do like a US tour, or like, you just play a couple really good shows and that's it.
You turn in one of those special festival bands, you know what I mean? Like, like where, shit, like you get a weird festival out in like California or somewhere in like fucking Europe, and they're like, oh, we'll give you like, this much and fly you out. And you're like,
okay,
that's kind of sick. That's like a
That's
vacation.
enough to make me go, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. Can you just leave my my return ticket open so that I can just come back whenever I feel like it now?
So let's close out by talking about your current project, Mind Power.
Yeah, we cool dudes, man. They were Wilkes-Barre guys. I booked a few of their bands. Bass player, he was jamming in Legia for a little while. Ryan, our guitar player, he was playing with Dead End Path. The other two dudes, Bill and Greg, they've been in a shitload of different kind of bands. They were sending me stuff for a long time, and I kept just blowing it off. I was in a relationship with this chick, and it was going somewhere. You know, I felt like a future was about to start, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do music. I want to focus on this. I want to focus on my career. And then that ended. That was done.
Yeah.
And then it was like right near Christmas time, and I'm like, fuck this. Like, I hit up one of the dudes. I'm like, I'm gonna come up there at the end of January. He's like, all right, cool. He's like, hear the songs again. I'm like, cool. So I just spent that month just like listening to these 5 songs, and it was the Depopulation EP that's out. And I spent a month. I didn't write anything, but I spent a month just like listening to it. And then the day of, I rolled up there and I left like kind of earlier, just to make sure that like, you know, I gave myself enough time to kind of go up and go into nature. Okay, so there's that spot up there, 7 Tubs, Tommy. You know what that's at, right?
Yeah, fucking dude.
So we went. So I go to 7 Tubs. I end up writing a bunch of the songs. Go there, I track them. They send them back to me, and then after that, it was just kind of history. We did the Q series, which is four EPs, 4 songs in a piece, and we did that over a year. We made it like kind of a special release schedule to it. Just trying to recreate how to release music. I noticed a few bands actually picked up what we did, and they're starting to do it now, which is
like
kind of
the smaller
cool.
EPs.
Yeah, just doing like, you know, the Casey Strain just did it with DK, and it's you know, they're doing 2 songs on each record, and at the end of it, it's DK, and they'll put out DK as a piece. You know what I mean? Like it makes sense because it builds your catalog up, and it brings more attention, and it keeps people coming back to you if they weren't already into you. So with Mind Power, you know, we went the first month, we went up maybe 80 listeners to maybe a 200. The second, we went from 200 to like 400. And then from 400, we put out Q3, and we jumped to 10,000, 15,000 people listening to us a month.
Wow.
And, you know, and then we put out Q4 and everything's great. And we weren't making as much money off of Spotify to think that we were going to be able to like actually finance this record ourselves. We just ran into a guy, Jeremy Myers, who does the Chamonix Creek Brewing Company and a few other little projects. He has Jumpstart Records. He's going to release an LP of a collection of that Q series, probably later in this year. So,
nice.
You know,
and you collaborated with Rob Fusco on one of the songs, and Northeast Scene guest Mike Shaw. How was it collaborating with Mike on a song?
It was cool. I made a point to make this record like a Candiria record, where every song had a guest on it, and that was my goal and my intentions from the get-go, was that I could utilize my own credibility within music, but why not like incorporate something that, you know, I'm creating with someone else that, you know, helped and give me a voice. So everyone that I chose in this was someone that, you know, I respected on and that I've toured with, that I've played with, that I've done something for, that I truly respected their talent. And Mike was one of them. Mike was always, you know, that dude. He was wild. He was fucking strange, but it's his own character. And if he was not that way, there's something wrong. You know what I mean? Like Mike is just a very unique human being and a great human being. And he came in, he had lyrics written. I gave him the song, and we went through it a couple times, and he finally caught it and caught a groove in the one track. And it was awesome, man. It turned out really, really fucking cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great song. So folks, check out Mind Power. You can hear them on Spotify and probably other places you get music, but I only use Spotify. So by the way, Tommy, are you back on Spotify now? You got back on, right?
I am, but I'll be honest with you. I was listening to that. What was the OT to Real? That dude has a new EP out, and I went to Spotify. I tried to find it. I found it. Ads played, and then the song I wanted didn't play. I just went right to YouTube.
Yeah, but dude, get premium. Listen, Bob, Tommy's fucking around with YouTube. Like, I send him a link to a Spotify song. He's like, "Oh, I can't find it on YouTube." I'm like, "What the fuck?"
You can find anything on YouTube, any music. And I used to be a YouTube whore when it comes down to it. I just got on Spotify through a friend of mine. He had an extra pass. I pay $5 a month, $60 a year, and I got no more ads. I don't got to listen to any bullshit stuff. No stupid songs. Anything I want to hear, I can find. And now what I've been doing is I've been going to like Pitchfork and other sites, and I'm looking at their top 50 lists of the year.
Trying shit out.
Yeah, just trying stuff out. And I've actually found a lot of really cool things. Dude, Little Albert, he's from Italy, and it's like a blues, like a Dead Meadow, like kind of blues band.
Shit. Yeah.
But man, he is so fucking good.
Yeah, Tommy, we're in the music business now, man. With this podcast, I gotta be able to bounce bands off you. I can't have you fucking.
I'm in the math business, son.
Stacks, son.
But I'm looking at. I don't know how much is it. I don't fucking.
$60 premium for a year, but that's like premium. Which I mean, all in all, if you look at your monthly bills, it's only $5 a month.
We're gonna listen to Mind Power. We're going to listen to the Life Once Lost catalog.
What about Left to Vanish?
Oh, and Left to Vanish, yes.
That record came out pretty wild too, and that's a wild story all in itself. But I know you're running out of time, so
yeah. Well, we're gonna get to that next time. So
okay.
Well, Bob, this was awesome, and we both just want to say thanks for being on.
Thank you very much, Keith and Tommy. It's been an honor to call you guys my friends over 21 years I've known you, and I love what you're doing with this. It's bringing back a lot of really nice memories with what the scene was, and what will be.
Thank you so much, Bobby.
So thanks everybody for listening. And remember, subscribe to us on your podcast medium of choice. Like, share, comment, and review. We haven't gotten any reviews in a while, so we need some new ones. Good or bad, just be honest. Give it to us. We're ready for it. Continue to write to us at northeastscene@gmail.com. We want your ticket stubs, your flyers, your show videos, everything, your show feedback, your stories. Send it to us. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @TheNEScene. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. And until next time.